So we've been spotted, gentlemen. It's Beatty. Last week, the Daily Beast, they say Vice in the video I'm about to react to, but I'm pretty sure it was the Daily Beast, published an article about how getting bigger is, in fact, getting bigger. So, obviously, that would lead to many other news outlets to cover getting bigger. And it just so happened to be the main one that I have watched over the past 6 to 9 years. Okay, and that is the Young Turks. I don't like talking about my political affiliations because it can get very divisive very quickly, especially in the United States. But the short of it is I am a Bernie bro progressive. However, I'm not going to hate you if you are a conservative. I just think me and you agree on a lot of things, except when it comes with a label of Democratic or Republican, a lot of people lose the thread instead of looking at the core issues at hand. So, that's going to be a part of my criticism of this video. I go by BD. I run the largest penis enlargement community ever. The main reason why it is so large, in my opinion, is because we don't put up with red pill bullshit. So, that makes it a safe space for everyone, and we can actually have productive conversations on male body image issues and what is actually expected. I doubt the people at TYT are going to even see this, but if you do, just hear me out, okay? I'm not mad. I just want you to understand my side of the debate. And since I primarily do debates online daily, they have activated Debate Lord BD. So, buckle up.
A new Vice piece looks into the world of guys looking for various methods, various ways to make their Johnson bigger. And apparently there's a growing subreddit that
hell yeah, there is.
Getting bigger, that is not only experiencing record growth on Reddit, but the people who are part of this subreddit are looking for record growth in their personal lives with their Johnsons. So first, let's take a look at this graph.
So, first, Anna reminds me of my sister. I largely agree with Anna on everything, and she does pretty good work when it comes to the other things. So, I'm going to be pretty light on TYT in general, because one, they're normies, okay? They aren't part of our community. They never really looked for reasons to enlarge their penis. However, in my opinion, penis enlargement is a lot like plastic surgery. So if you criticize penis enlargement, you're criticizing plastic surgery, because at the end of the day, all we are trying to do is feel comfortable in our own skin. So whether you get a rhinoplasty or breast implants, it's no different than using a penis pump to try to make your penis bigger.
Because it shows you the growth of this subreddit getting bigger. And while this might seem like a light story, it's really not, because some of the methods that these...
All right, so this is only half the story too. This graph, let me shrink myself a bit, is going up to, 45K by July. We are at 63.5K as of today, Easter, April 2023. So, essentially, we have tripled in size, or almost quadrupled in size since last year. Now, I can understand her concern, and I'll get more into it in a second.
Men are turning to, potentially boys are turning to, could cause lasting damage to themselves and to the body part that they're trying to, I guess, in their minds, improve. And there's a lot of misconceptions about size that we'll get into in just a second. But first, why don't we look at this fun video that talks about some of those misconceptions.
Okay, this video pissed me off when I first saw it, and the guy who made the video is an active member in our community. Do fucking better, because that stupid video you made makes all of us look like idiots, okay? So I don't care if you think every man needs to be 8 inches to be fulfilled. That's not the fucking case. Furthermore, I'll show you in a second how stupid of an argument either they nitpicked from you, in that case, I'm sorry for yelling, but, or you made yourself, and it is asinine, and I'll show you why.
Society says bigger is better, right? But then you look it up, make a post on Reddit, or talk to some girls, and they say it doesn't matter. Cap. So what does science say? Well, let's look at some studies. First of all, what's the average size? 5.5 inches.
Which is correct.
That's it. And what does science say women prefer? Scientific studies conclude that women prefer larger or casual hookups. A survey on a popular dating site concluded that 8 inches induce orgasms at a 44% success rate, and 9 inches induce orgasms at 42% rate.
Okay, so he was right about the average, and then he said there's a study that shows women prefer larger penises for hookups. And then he takes another survey, not a study, a survey asking what penis size does what to women. And then the larger penis sizes, which we don't even know if they were actually this fucking big, weren't even hitting a coin's toss of success for vaginal orgasms. Meanwhile, in my own personal experience, my fucking fingers have a 99.99 success rate when it comes to achieving orgasm for my female partner. Shocking, I know. So, what I'm saying is this was a horrible take. Okay? Absolutely asinine, just because he's trying to say bigger is better. He misconstrues the data on purpose, because what the science actually says is about 6 to 6.25 inches is the ideal for hookups, which sure is bigger than the average, but it's not like obscene, right? And then he goes and says 8 to 9 inches is a 44% success rate. Like, think about it. That's awful, right? So, at the end of the day, it really comes down to, one, how you use the damn thing. Most big guys don't give a fuck about how they use their penis. Secondly, I'm telling you now, Anna's going to mention this in her video, the clitoris is the key to female pleasure. So if you can just use your fingers or your tongue, if you are so blessed with the muscle strength there, you are going to have a much better satisfaction rate with the ladies. Anyway, moving on.
That's why Pete Davidson is so popular. So yes, it matters. But can you make it big?
Also, another tangent. If you ask Pete Davidson about his penis, he would say his ex made that up so that everyone has this expectation of him being hung when he's really not, leading to the disappointment and then the added pressure of not living up to expectations. So, fucking stupid. I'm sorry. That guy just pissed me off to no end, and he's probably made an enemy for life at this point. So, watch out.
Pumps.
Don't do those things. There is no way. I'm not buying it, and there's no.
So I'm not here to convince you one way or the other if penis enlargement works. That's what the rest of my channel is for. So go ahead and check it out if you are so interested. I'm just saying, though, Anna, and TYT in general, is there is evidence that this works. There are many young men that do have the insecurity built in, whether it be from watching way too much porn in adolescence or just the hyper-competitive nature that we live in society, that you need to be larger than life to even be worth a damn. That's why so many young men are going down this path. And my obligation is to make sure young men don't go too far, hurting themselves, for example, or picking up very extremist ideas in the process.
Vitamin or supplement that you could buy from Alex Jones is going to make it bigger. You're just bruising and hurting yourself by using those pumps. And look, if you really care about making women happy, if that's like really the goal here, discover the clitoris and you'll be fine. That's it. That's all you need to know.
Now, she is not wrong. The clitoris is basically the glands to our penis. So I'm assuming most of you guys can't orgasm without gland stimulation. Same thing with women. So like, I believe the study says 60 to 70% of women need clitoral stimulation to come vaginally. So while during penetration, you don't want to be going in and out. You want to be doing a grinding movement along the clitoris to be getting the most satisfaction for your female partner. Then that will trigger a vaginal orgasm if you're hitting the other erogenous zones. And some women can even come vaginally. Like, I would assume about 10% can't. Because it's not really designed to orgasm the same way a clitoris is. A clitoris is literally the center for pleasure, is all this really comes down to. But that does not change the fact, if you want to get bigger for whatever reason, as long as it's healthy, I believe you're okay.
If you are a king with the clitoris, you will be okay. You could be like micro situation, and if you know how to work it, it's gonna be okay. That's it. That's the whole thing. Roz, what do you think?
But first, BD, what do I think? So, like, again, she's largely right. It doesn't really matter what your penis size is if you're good with your hands. However, sexual compatibility is a thing, and the average is 5.5 for a reason, okay? So the average vagina is 5 to 6 inches deep. So if your penis is about 5 to 6 inches, you will be fine for the majority of women. However, trust me, I get there's something in some of us men that make us want to be bigger and better than everything and everyone. It's not healthy, but I understand that urge. And I don't know how much of it is society, and I don't know how much is primal, and Anna's going to probably bring that question up again soon.
These guys need to just talk to girls, man.
Yes.
Like,
Get off Reddit and
women.
talk to women. Yes.
So, I'm married, happily so. I've talked to women for most of my life. Most of my good friends were women beforehand, believe it or not. It does not change the fact that men can feel insecure for a variety of reasons. Because it's just like, I don't know, it's hard to put into words. Personally, when I was an adolescent, and just to give these people context, I felt like I was not worthy of love until I hit certain aspects. And that's just because I lived with relatively strict parents with high expectations. So those high expectations they put on me, I transferred to other aspects of my life. So like if I wasn't, big and muscular, women are not going to give you the time of the day. If I did not have a large penis, I was not worth it. So I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying this is where a lot of young men come from. And especially since, as I talked, people watch too much porn. I started watching porn extremely young. I never had the sex talk. I never had a sex education because that's optional in the United States, apparently. So my teacher was porn for the most part. So now my own expectations have been warped so much that it took me a lot of my own self-research to get over it. And then finally self-acceptance of where I'm at now to fully get over my insecurities. So them saying like it's just them watching porn and them not talking to girls is very dismissive of the plight of young men. And that kind of goes to my point with a lot of leftists lately, is that they are so focused on the marginalized community that a straight white man, for example, issues are not that important, but it doesn't make the issues the straight white man has any less important to them. Now, granted, I am an ally to everyone. However, I see the plight of straight men, meaning that they have so many weird expectations now when it comes to like society and their own warped ideals from consuming too much porn, for example. Or, I was raised on Marvel movies in my teens. If I didn't look like Chris Evans by the time I was 20, I felt like a failure. And guess what? I didn't. Because, hate to say it, but most of those Marvel superheroes were on steroids. And that's another thing that's coming up, is like a lot of young men are starting steroids very early. And that's a whole nother can of worms, probably for another video. But for me, personally, them just dismissing young men pushes young men to the right, because at least the right will listen to them, right? So I'm trying to film here, guys. They're pushing young men to the right, which I get it depends on your political affiliation, but in my opinion, the left really never gives young men a chance unless they are part of one of these marginalized groups.
To actual women, this is not a thing, because first of all, how are they going to say if 5.5 or whatever is the average allegedly, and this guy mentioned 8 and 9 inches and all of that, like, where, so then women just aren't having sex is what they're saying. Where are they finding all of these dudes? Like, that's not a possibility. It's just, I think these dudes, a lot of stuff in pop culture says that this penis size stuff is a huge deal to people. It's not.
Okay. So for some more context, young men date young women who also don't get sex education, so they don't really know what normal size is, right? And as they experience more and more men, they will then finally understand what normal's like. But again, a lot of young women only know porn. Not saying like a bunch, because they're not like actively seeking it out like men do, because it's not really catered to them. But when it comes to like, the adage of girl inches, right? So basically, if they're 6, they're 8. If they're 8, they're 10, right? So it's like an extra 15% per penis. So if they're like, my boyfriend's 8 inches, he's really 6, but she tells her friends that he's 8, it makes 8 seem similar, because they are not experienced enough, and I guarantee you they're not whipping out a ruler to measure their partners. And then that's just how this goes. So if you're not like, if you listen to people that probably don't know what they're talking about, such as young, inexperienced women, engaging their own perception on that, that's going to warp your perception, thinking that you need to be big to be even worth a damn. But again, most of these women are dating average men, because that's the reason it's the average. That's the most common. There's an argument that 20% of the men get 80% of the women. That's fucking nonsense. Think about that. That would just make society collapse, and it like populations would have plummeted, and we would have seen this phenomena for millennia, even before organized religion saying otherwise. So anyway, moving on.
And of course they're watching a lot of porn, who like obviously that over indexes for people with a certain size of penis, but it's like literally 8 dudes in that whole industry, right? And so I would just really like for these guys, and this is what my problem about the modern internet, like I back in the days we used to think that the internet was bringing us together. This stuff is driving us further and further apart.
100%.
Okay, so as much as I like TYT, they're part of the issue, right? Because instead of listening to like my side of the argument, they just go and find this one article written by one person, pick the worst part from it, in my opinion, and then make a reactionary video on this. This is the exact same shit Fox News does, okay? Right? And to me, at this point, they are no better at Fox News, just for the left. And really, that just comes down to money, right? Because they need ad dollars to support their business, which is fine. I get it. You need content. But this just makes it seem like to young men that are not indoctrinated into the left, indoctrinated is a big, scary word, for young men that are not leaning left, like me, it just pushes them away because you are not listening to their problems. Yes, porn's an issue, but that's not the only issue. A lot of young men have issues talking to women because of social media making them feel like they need to be. The adage is now the 3 6s, 6 feet, 6 figures, 6 inches plus. So that means you need a 6-inch penis to be 6 feet tall and to be pulling in over 100,000 a year to be even worth a damn to females. That is absolute nonsense. But there's people like fucking Fresh and Fit and Andrew Tate, who are telling a whole bunch of young men that they need to act a certain way, be alpha, be a top G, and and you need to be this way for women to give any respect to you. But then you have nobody on the left except for maybe Hassan and I guess you could say Destiny, and I guess you could say Voosh, whatever, that are actually advocating for young men in their own way. But this just goes to my point that they are very dismissive of men's issues, in my opinion, and that's just hurting them in the long run.
The idea that these fools could just congregate on Reddit and pretend to know what women want sexually. And
Okay.
take this false information and just start.
So, first of all, I guarantee you he hasn't looked at our Reddit. If you were on our Reddit, you would see that literally my last post the other day was talking about how 7 inches is big. Okay? So, I spend a decent portion of my time focusing on people understanding what is expected of them and how 5 to 6 inches is nothing to be ashamed of. Okay? If you want more for your own confidence and your own security, like body image security, go for it. But you can't be putting words in our mouth, please. Okay? That's my partner, Doc Hank's biggest pet peeve, is when they just call us scammers and write us off without actually listening to our argument. So if you are a good journalist, which I think you're just a talking political pundit because that's all I hear from you on TYT, maybe get both sides of the story before you open your mouth. Just saying. I understand that these exercises are potentially dangerous, but r/getting bigger by community takes great pride in weeding out all the crap that is potentially unsafe. Okay? So please, I know this is the most passionate I've probably ever been on this damn channel. Just hear us out before you talk shit on us, okay? That's all I'm asking. It's not much to ask, right? Because you guys get pissed when the right does the exact same thing to you. So just come on, be real.
Putting 40-pound weights on their.
We don't do that anymore. Okay.
So they're using. I want to show you some of these devices because this is. Let's go to graphic 3. So they're using. I thought penis pumps were for pleasure, but no. Apparently.
All right. So that's a bathmate. I've called them out many a times for how overpriced they are. However, they are effective and they are relatively comfortable. The only time it actually hurts is around the base of the penis because it's pulling on pubes. So if you keep shaving, it's pretty comfortable. It's not obscenely high powered, and we teach to use even less power than what the company tells you to use. Okay, so. And I also don't recommend bathmates in general because you can't measure pressure to mitigate risk. We say to do between 5 to 10 Hg. The average erection is 3 to 4 Hg, so you only want to be slightly above baseline to see changes in penis size over time. I know, ridiculous concept, but check out Davis's law. That's my entire basis. Davis's law is the basis of soft tissue reformation, and how if you do a certain amount of strain and fatigue over time, you will see changes in the size and shape of soft tissue, similar to how tendons and ligaments can get longer over time if you constantly stretch them. You need to watch my videos because otherwise, if I talk about it forever, this video is going to be well over an hour. So, but yeah, bathmate's crappy. I don't recommend them. My partner still uses it, but mainly because of convenience. Anyway.
There are devices like this, the Hydromax 7 Hydro Penis Pump. That is, by the way, you already got hydro in the name once. You don't need to do it twice. But nonetheless, it's just,
I mean, she's
all
not
it
wrong.
does is it pumps them, and it could lead to injuries, by the way. Some of these guys are posting images of their junk all bruised up and everything.
She's probably talking about me.
Because you're pumping it with suction.
Okay, so one of the main temporary side effects is swelling, and discoloration if you use too much pressure. Before I did penis enlargement, there's a good chance Anna saw my penis, so ayo. But you can develop like a bruise over time, but like it's just a bruise, it fades. And we largely teach now how to avoid discoloration and avoid the swelling. Okay, so we call swelling edema. It's just water under the skin. It's probably not good for gains, like, because it's limiting the expansion of the actual working chambers, but it is a potential side effect, especially with Hydromax. So if you want to know more, I have a video called Interval Pumping on how to do it safely.
And yeah, it's gonna look swollen, and the swelling's gonna go away. That's not actually doing it. I don't even know what that is. It's some sort of clamp. They're messing around with clamps. And I feel terrible for these guys.
All right. I never seen that type of clamp. Let's see, face in chat. Like, ever? Okay. What clamping is a way to restrict blood flow to the penis. If you know anything about physiotherapy, there's a phenomenon called blood flow restriction therapy, where if you limit blood flow and blood oxygen to a tissue, it releases an angiogenic response to be better able to handle that stress. Since the penis is mostly blood-holding tissue, if you apply the angiogenic stress to the penis, you will build more blood vessels, therefore creating thicker, denser erections. This device, though, let me bring it up again, I have never seen before in my life, and I just recommend using cock rings because they're better shaped to the penis, and it's a little more modular. So, like, if you need more occlusion, you just put on another cock ring. But apparently this exists on Amazon, so.
Because they're not getting good advice, they're potentially causing lasting damage to themselves, and they're honestly misinformed on what women want, and also... I actually want to understand this, because I've never been able to understand it, and I think...
Okay, so first, I take a bit of offense to the idea that they are being misguided as one of the heads of this community. 10 to 20 years ago, for sure, it was just the fucking Wild West. But we've learned a lot in the past 10 to 20 years, okay? And I take great pride of making sure that my stuff is relatively safe beforehand. But it's also like saying... you're going to get injured by doing bench press at the gym. Yeah, if you do 250 on bench, but you never benched a day in your life, there's a good chance you're just going to drop the bar in your chest and bruise yourself. It's the same idea with penis enlargement. Don't try to pump up for 2 hours and expect that it's going to even work, right? It's a slow process that I spend maybe 40 minutes doing a day at this time. However, at my current size, I don't even need to do it. I just do it to prove a point, okay? And quite honestly, most guys don't need to do penis enlargement. And if they do need to do penis enlargement, say they do have like a micro penis, that is treated by hormone. So you go to an endocrinologist, they give you, say, HCG or transdermal DHT if you do have a micro penis. And then you'll develop normally, even though you're like a 25, 30-year-old man. Because puberty is stunted, or that's not where you ended up. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, again, it comes down to my point. If they just looked at our stuff without bias, they would have a completely different picture. Okay?
Mass media does have something to do with it, but there's also a confidence thing attached to size for guys. What is that about? Like, where does that come from?
You know, I wish I could tell you, but the best bet is that it's 50% primal, and then so like the big caveman ooga booga need to be big and strong, be fertile to, you know, get the mate. Or it's because young men are told, like I've said probably 3 times in this video, that you need to be in the top 80 to 90% to be worth a damn. Okay? So don't blame young men for looking for solutions. Personally, I am just trying to help young men get over their insecurities. I'm not trying to profit off of them. However, at a certain point, if I'm going to help more people, I need to make some money off of it so I can continue to invest in my message. But I really could care less about the money. I just want young men to not feel how shitty I felt for most of my youth, my young adult life. And yeah, a lot of that stuff is mental. All right, because there's always a bigger guy, but just knowing that you feel adequate is huge for your own mental well-being. So don't write it off is all I'm asking. Okay? Because again, you're belittling men's issues for no real reason, and that's just going to push them the direction you don't want them to go. And then you'll have to be calling them fascists because of whatever reason, because they voted for DeSantis instead of, I don't even know who DeSantis ran against last year. I used to be really into politics, but it becomes like so anxiety inducing, because you see all this blah, blah, blah. He hates him. He hates her. Blah, blah, blah. This country has a bunch of proto-fascists starting. It just burns you out. So I'm still politically active. It's just that I can't spend as much time as I did worrying about politics, because it's at the end of the day, it's pointless to be so in the know, and it's kind of egotistical to think that you need to know about everything in every state as if it actually impacts you. And like, I know someone's going to be like, yes, it does impact you, but like, I'm going to be honest, I have white privilege. I have straight white privilege. I don't have to worry about what's going on in Florida. Yes, it pisses me off to no end what's happening in the South right now. But sometimes, just for your own mental well-being, you have to shut off. So,
does it come from society, or is it some sort of, I don't know, evolutionary thing? I'm really curious.
I think it's definitely a learned thing. I think
it's a mix. It's like nature versus nurture, right? Some people are just going to be hyper competitive when they're born, and then they kind of have this brain issue, or like, if I'm not the biggest and best, I'm not going to be worthy in my own ooga booga brain. But yes, there is definitely society aspects, and like, if you actually looked at our subreddit WAS, you would see a lot of young men getting fed misinformation from pop culture, and other like younger women that don't really, again, know what's expected of them, and men at the same time. So anyway,
this idea that bigger is better, that you are more masculine the bigger you is. Like, there's just that idea just permeates. And then, you know, you would hope as you get older and you meet actual women out there, and on the list of things that they desire in a mate, this, you know, range of size of being some huge, you know, whatever, is just not very high on the list.
So he's not wrong. Most women don't give a shit about penis size. It's about sexual compatibility. And again, a lot of guys on our subreddit are married, believe it or not. It's more about them living up to their own expectations and doing what they want, rather than trying to appeal to women. I know it's a wild concept that people just want to be comfortable in their own skin, but like, so Hank, I'm going to talk about you for a second. Hank is a black man. Okay, he's a tall black man. Was expected in his own mind to be huge, like downstairs. Even though he was statistically big, he would be told he was small by women, even though he was in the 99th percentile already. So to him, his 7 inches seems short or small compared to what was expected of him. And yeah, so there is a cultural element, but a lot of this stuff is actually forced on us. So it's not like we're going around, oh, we need to be bigger. No, it's other people telling us that we need to be a certain way, act a certain way. And then we also have people like the Young Turks in this case that are telling us we're weird for caring about it. But like, like, you know, if you listen to rap music, it's always about how my man's got a big dig, and then all kinds of shit. So, like, all I'm saying is just have a little bit of compassion like you do for the trans community and LGBT community and the black community when you're talking about these sensitive subjects, because like I said, all you're doing is making young men ostracized against your other causes. Like, it is pretty obvious when I say it, but apparently just because the people in power also happen to be straight white men, right? Like, I'm not denying, doesn't mean that some random kid in the middle of Iowa doesn't mean some random kid in the middle of Ohio has any connection to them, right? So yes, it's weird to be advocating for the in class, or not, I wouldn't even want to say ruling class, but the people in power, if we're talking about this from a societal hierarchical scale. But the world's changing, and it's not just like minorities hurting. Minorities may be hurting more, for sure. I'm not going to deny that. But it's not like young, straight white men have, or any men, it doesn't even really matter what race they are, aren't having their own slew of issues, from lack of job opportunities, from difficulty finding a partner because of the expectations put on them from society. As you can see, I've been thinking about this for about 3 years, and I finally had a chance to talk about this. So forgive me if I'm rambling.
I think money is definitely number one. But after money, it's generally like stuff like being a good person, being an attentive, thoughtful.
All right. I just think it's fucking rich that the guy that works for the leftist news network says women only care about money. That's the top priority on their list. It's not. I can tell you now, it's not. What women really care about is, one, social compatibility, so you want to live the same lifestyle, and two, being responsible. So that means picking up after yourself, being able to pay your own bills. But as long as you can cover those two, and maybe just be a genuinely good human being, all bets are off. Sexuality and attraction are wild. And believe me, money doesn't really have much to do about it, because guess what? My wife basically worked both of us through college. Okay? Like, my major was computer science. I didn't have much time to get a part-time job, just with how difficult it was. So she would work 35 hours a week, and on top of going to school. I owe her for my education, right? But she stuck with me despite my failings financially. So it doesn't fucking matter how much money you make, is what I'm saying. As long as you're responsible and a good person, at the end of the day, that's all that really matters, and that you fit socially.
Full
Yes.
mate,
Being a partner,
caring,
a teammate.
kindness, it's
Funny.
It's absurd.
Women love to laugh. We like funny. No, I mean, like, that's the other thing. I think the personality traits that women like also get discounted in these kinds of
No, they don't. No.
forums, right? Because it's not just about...
Okay, we're not a red-pilled fucking forum, okay? Oh my god. Sorry. We're getting pissy. But, again, I started getting bigger because I saw this shit in other forums. I wanted nothing to do with it. So, saying that we are fucking red-pilled assholes, saying that women only want the biggest, strongest man with the biggest bank accounts, even though he just fucking said it, really pisses me off. Like, So, then trust me, I fucking get it. Like, because every other community is that way. Women only want the biggest dick, the biggest muscles. No, they don't. Like, I can guarantee you my wife doesn't give me two shits about how big my penis is, how big my muscles are. What she cares about, like Anna said, is how I can make her laugh, make her feel loved. And I'm not gonna lie, I think I'm pretty attractive. She thinks I'm pretty attractive. I think she's very attractive. It goes both ways. There's physical attraction, and that's a completely different ball game. You can be attracted to a variety of different aspects. So when you think that me, in particular, in my community, only cares about penis size, that's not the case. However, so many people do. Okay? Like men, young men think they need to. So if I can help them get over this one insecurity, by all means, I'm going to do everything I can to help them. So please stop belittling my cause. Okay?
about how you look. It's not just about your size. It's also about who you are as a person. What are your values? I know it sounds super cheesy, and I feel like, I don't know, like a grandma saying all this stuff, but it is true. When I think about what I like really, really love and appreciate about my husband, it's his thoughtfulness. He understands what my love language is, and even though it's not the same as his love language, he cares enough about me to, you know, communicate with me and do things for me.
So I don't know if you guys caught what she said, but she said relationships are about compromise. And she's 100% right. So she said love languages, and there's like 4 different ways you can show love. There's physical, there's interaction, there's gifting, and then there's one other thing that I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it has to do with like writing letters and then telling people how much you love them rather than like giving them a hug. I'm a very physical lover. I don't like touching anyone but my wife, okay? So like I would rather hold her hand, hug her, and shit like that. Meanwhile, she just wants to do shit with me. So like we go to the movies, we go to the park, all kinds of other stuff. That's how she shows her love. So once you understand that, your relationship will get much better. Anyway, I don't get enough chance to talk about this stuff. So if you guys want me to talk more about just normal love and not hiccup artist shit, because I think that stuff's kind of gross, let me know in the comments and I'll work on it. I'll put it on the pile.
Then he knows I really appreciate it and make me feel loved. And then again, if you don't care about any of that, you're just a young man and you just really want to impress the ladies. Again, I just cannot emphasize this enough. Like, don't watch porn if you want, but understand that porn isn't reality and find the clitoris. That's it. That's it.
All right. Again, I largely agree with Anna. It's just weird because she kind of looks like my sister and she talks like my sister, so it's just weird. But anyway, porn is essentially a visual drug. Okay, so it does a dopamine response, and if you watch it too early, it's going to really fucking warp your own perception of body image. So, guys, I've watched my fair share of erotica, but I can tell you now, it has warped my perception almost beyond repair at this point. I don't want you falling down the same path, but it's a vice, so you need to learn how to control your vices. I moved to primarily amateur stuff. It's helped, but you really can't be divulging into porn too much. And on the topic of the clitoris, we've already went into this at length. That's the gateway to pleasure. No matter what size you are, you can make a woman orgasm, whether you are 2 inches or 10 inches, as long as you know how to work the clitoris. It's really that simple. Now, again, there's the question of sexual compatibility. Some women do prefer larger, some women do prefer smaller. But at the end of the day, you got to do what makes you feel happy. If getting a bigger penis would make you happy, by all means, go for it. But it's not going to change your love life. It's just going to give you the confidence to be a better lover, for example. And that's a huge thing. People are like, my penis got bigger and my love life got better. No, that's not what happened. What happened is you gained maybe half an inch and you are big Mr. Macho Man now. So you put a little more gusto and passion into your love life, and your woman reciprocates because you are there present, not worrying about your penis size and just focusing on pleasing her. Inadvertently, by enlarging your penis, you've made yourself a more receptive lover. Like, trust me, when I was insecure about my size at certain points, that was the worst I was ever at sex. When I was not insecure about my size, even though it was the same size, if not smaller, I was even better at sex than when I was bigger, believe it or not. So the nice thing about insecurities is that you can conquer them mentally. It really just comes down to mindset. However, like I said, one of the first steps for maybe conquering these insecurities is just doing the work, getting a longer, thicker penis. Do what you want, guys.
That's it. Words to live by.
Yeah.
Find the clitoris.
And I think that's the end of the video.
Yep.
So,
It's
waiting for you to discover it.
absolute.
yeah. So, to any of the TYT viewers that found this video, I just want you to understand that getting bigger is not evil. Okay. Yeah, there are definitely like companies that try to profit off of the members of getting bigger. However, I think we do a decent job of calling out the bullshit when we see it. I think we have productive conversations on men's sexuality that often go overlooked, but we're still a work in progress. I know there's things we can do better, but I do think we do a great job of keeping a lot of the red-pilled bullshit out of here. And I know there's probably a lot of red-pilled guys in my audience based off of this YouTube channel. All I'm saying is, like my YouTube channel analytics, all I'm saying is, guys, it's not healthy. You can't be like thinking that you need to be the biggest and best, and only women only care about being the biggest and best. Because I met my wife at 6'1", 160. So it's not like I was... The only real asset, if we're talking about physicality, was my height, because I was scrawny. I had a very narrow face because I didn't finish puberty, nor could I grow a beard yet. So if it was all about physical assets, she would have went with the football captain who had biceps the size of his head and the huge pecs and the face that looked literally like Channing Tatum's, but it's not, okay? So I'd strongly consider you finding other places for advice. There's nothing wrong with self-improvement, but you need to understand women are human and not some weird robot that thinks that they only need the biggest and best. Okay? So yeah, there are some superficial women, but believe me, they are not as common as you think they are on social media. So that's what I have to say about that. And again, this is the expected response from mainstream media. Penis enlargement doesn't work. However, all I really ask of mainstream media is just to do their due diligence, because everything I talk about is mostly scientifically backed at this point. It might be one extrapolation point away from being like scientifically sound, but in my opinion, it's pretty solid. Hank only does with the scientific absolutes. So like all his stuff looks at how case studies of penis enlargement, say from sickle cell anemia. He looks at research papers on penis pumps and research papers on penile extension. I'm the one that looks at physiotherapy aspects from tendons and ligaments and tries to extrapolate that onto the penis. So together we have a pretty solid argument of how penis enlargement works. On top of that, wow, this is going forever, isn't it? There's this new study called the P-Long study where like 5 or 6 urologists all teamed up to sell shitty supplements and overpriced products for penis enlargement. They are licensed medical professionals. If they can get away with selling penis enlargement products, why can't some himbo, not a himbo, but why can't some gym bro, that's more accurate, talk about this at length and try to help other men without price gouging them? Okay. But yeah, this was surreal. I never thought TYT would acknowledge my existence. And if they do want to continue this conversation, I am open for it. I think there's a lot of room for improvement for talking about men's issues in the left space. However, it's hard to get past the stigma of just men in general because, you know, white men have been in power for thousands of years, and I get it, but not every white man was in power. And that's where a lot of these talking points are missed. And when they say white men are the problem, they really mean the 0.1% at the top of white men and not the other 99.99% of white men who literally just go to work, take care of the family, and go to sleep. So, anyway. Yeah, this was a ride. I feel better for just talking about it. So, hopefully you guys like it. Hopefully something comes of it that is productive. That's all I'm going to say. So this is BD signing off. I'll see you probably next week because I'm going on vacation.